Hi, back with another video. So today we're going to talk about how to understand the language of astrology. Before we jump into the video, I do just want to do a couple little housekeeping things. So if you can, please like, subscribe, share, comment. I am trying to grow my channel, so anything you guys can do to help with that, I would really, really greatly appreciate it. But definitely subscribe. Like, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of information. So yeah, subscribe because there's gonna be a ton of information and a ton of different videos coming out. Also, I do still have appointments available for birth chart readings, natal chart readings, and I am still offering the hand-drawn birth chart with that for free. And I also have Synastry readings available as well. So those are the relationship readings, and you know, they can be any kind of relationship, romantic, friend, you know, kids, parents, siblings, coworkers, whatever. So I do still have appointments available for that. My email is in the description box, so email me and I would love to help you out with that. I do check my email at least once a day, so definitely email me. So yeah, so now that we have all that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So how do you understand the language of astrology? I really did kind of want to start with some really super basic concepts about astrology because, you know, even if you have like a moderate knowledge of it, there's still so many things about it that that even if you know like a little bit about your chart or your sun, moon, rising sign, all of that, that's like such a small tip of the iceberg to everything else that's involved in it. So so that's why I want to start with some of the basic concepts, because when you understand the basic concepts and the foundation of some of where these things come from, then you're going to be able to understand the more advanced concepts better. They'll make much more sense to you. So how do you understand the language of astrology? Astrology is a language of energy and symbols. Everything in our universe is vibrating at a certain frequency, and symbols are how we make that energy understandable to ourselves and others. For instance, you know, there's words. We have ideas, and we've come up with a system of words to convey those ideas. We have pictures, we have, you know, all kinds of things that help us convey ideas, and they're all symbols. And we talk in symbols as well. You know, you can even see it all over the internet. We talk in memes and emojis and things like that, especially these days. And just to kind of understand it, well, what it does is it gives you a larger concept of just saying one word. You know, it helps give you a picture of a bigger concept to convey a certain meaning about that or a certain set of circumstances, you know. For instance, if someone you come in contact with or you're talking with says you have dragon energy, you know right away what they're talking about. They do not have to go through the lists of characteristics of dragons or, you know, like what you mean by that, especially if you're in a certain circumstance that they're saying that about you. It's like you already kind of understand what they're talking about just by them saying that. Now, you can also further classify that as saying, you know, well, what are you talking, you know, like what kind of dragon are you talking about? Are you talking about Eastern culture dragon, or are you talking about Western culture dragon? Because they are kind of different. So like, are we talking about, you know, devouring mother, or are we talking about good luck? You know, like, you know, what kind of dragon energy are you talking about? So it's really a system of, you know, classifications and subclassifications. There are, you know, dragon as a whole is universal over all cultures. Every culture knows what a dragon is. Every culture also has their own version of a dragon and what those things mean to their culture. So the larger symbol of the dragon would be an archetype. So that's a Jungian term. Jung called archetypes, well, he called them the universal principles underlying and motivating all psychological life, both for the individual and the collective. And they reside in the collective unconscious. Now, there's going to be so many times where I'm going to be really tempted to like jump down a rabbit hole of Jungian terms, and that would make these videos like super long. And if I'm being 100% honest, other people can explain it better than me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link things in the description. And if you are interested in this stuff, because it is like really super interesting, I will link that information and you can check it out, because it is applicable definitely to all of what we're talking about, really. For this particular situation, I am going to tell you at least about 3 concepts that Jung talks about. It's the consciousness, or our ego, what we are consciously aware of, our personal unconscious, which is the subliminal information that we have picked up over the course of our personal lives. And some of it gets purposely put down, some, shoved down into the unconscious. Some of it we don't even know that is there, that we picked up, but it is a collection of everything that we have experienced subliminally that is stored there. And then the collective unconscious is all of the information that humanity has collected over the course of its time. And all 3 of these things are constantly evolving and constantly talking to each other and constantly interacting with each other. And yeah, that's how that works. Even archetypes themselves are constantly evolving and constantly changing, because we as humanity are constantly evolving and changing. Archetypes are symbols, but not really. They actually create symbols. Because like I said before, you have the larger symbol of the dragon, but depending on where you come from or what your experiences have been or just what you know about it, it's going to generate different symbols in your mind. So, unless you have a big, archetypal knowledge of dragons, like over the course of a bunch of different cultures, you're probably going to come to like one picture in your mind. So it's kind of like that, but also they're always evolving. Because we're always evolving. So archetypes make up myth and religion and philosophy, cultural stories, dreams. They're in everything, art, everything. They're everywhere, which is why they are so unfathomable, because they are everywhere and they encompass just a huge amount of ideas. And then from there you can subcategorize them into smaller ideas to make them a little bit more understandable. Astrology is the same way. We're taking the larger ideas and categorizing them into smaller ideas within those larger umbrellas. Astrology has been used for thousands of years by many, many different cultures. I honestly don't know the accuracy of this, because I've just, seen things on social media and the internet and stuff about like Native American astrology and like Celtic astrology and stuff. Know very little, but like just looking at little characteristic things based on like symbols of the dates and stuff, like Western astrology, or even, just like Western astrology. It does seem like some of the characteristics carry over a bit, But again, like I said, just browsing. Don't really know much about that. I do have a little bit more knowledge of Vedic astrology, which is still very, very super limited. I have looked at it a little bit to at least kind of understand what I'm looking at. And it is actually quite similar to Western astrology. It's just, they use a lot of the same symbols, same planetary structure. They really kind of concentrate more on the north and south nodes. However, because of karma, reincarnation, and soul purpose in life and things like that. So there's, similarities, but at the same time, differences. Specifically, from what I can see in Vedic astrology, their moon is not feminine, it's actually masculine. And the astrology wheel, it's not even really a wheel, it's still degrees, but it's like, it seems like it's more of like a more linear story based on which degree things are at. And then you're going to, have those kinds of characteristics based on what part of that story you're talking about. That's what I kind of gather. Again, I don't have a huge deep knowledge, but again, so it's the same kind of thing. You have like, stories of, myths and stories, and even like when you're talking about fairy tales, they are very moral. They're cultural, moral stories that we talk about. This is religion, right? So it's kind of like that. Astrology is just, it's an overall more, and especially from the psychological perspective, it's just like that overall more encompassing of humanity as opposed to a certain culture. Well, that's not even true, I guess, because you do have Western astrology. Anyway, there's a lot going on there. However, historically, there is a strong relationship between each culture's myths and their stories and their religions and astrology and their astrological setup. So, one could even argue that astrology itself is an archetype because it is also multi-layered, multicultural, and kind of always changing. So, but yes, we just use astrology, and we use the signs, and we use the elements and modalities and houses and planets and aspects to further classify these concepts and these symbols and these characteristics. Otherwise, it would just really be kind of like random information, like just trying to communicate something and just saying words and just, words, which, yes, you could probably get your point across on some level, but it would be a lot harder and take a lot longer. It's a lot easier when you have a sentence structure that everyone is aware of, so everyone knows what's happening. Like, it's universal for everyone to an extent, universal with everyone in your culture. But, symbolically speaking, these larger archetypes are universal and encompass these smaller cultural symbols too. For instance, let's take a tiger. If we're going to, biologically classify a tiger, it's an animal. So we know that it's not a plant or a rock. We know that it is a mammal. So we know that it doesn't lay eggs. It doesn't, what else do non-mammal things do? Doesn't have scales, you feel me, it's a mammal. Then we also further classify that down into a carnivore. It's a carnivore, not a plant eater. It eats meat and a hunter. And then we further classify that into the feline category. It's a cat species, a feline species. And then I believe it's genus Panthera, species Tigris. Yes, I think so. I looked it up earlier, so I think that's right. Anyway, so you have a tiger. Like, you're classifying it all down into these smaller things, right? But even that said, you're classifying this one thing all the way down into this other thing, to this tiger, from animal to tiger, actually from sentient being to, or inorganic, non-organic, let's even go higher than that. Like, everything can be a wider and broader classification. So all astrology is the same. So here we have our tiger, right? Now you can have a tiger in the zoo, or like, say, a rehab place somewhere in North America, and another tiger in the jungle of Southeast Asia, and they're going to have very different lives and very different experiences, and often exhibit different characteristics because of those lives and because of those experiences. But there's still a tiger. The tiger in North America and the rehab or zoo or whatever, and the tiger in Southeast Asia is still a tiger. But because of its situational life and the things that have happened to it, or, you know, maybe it was born in captivity, maybe it was hurt, you know, who knows? But it's going to have a very different life because of that. Still a tiger. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically the language of astrology and how it works. For the next video, I'm going to be talking about some of those categories. So the next video, I'm going to talk about the elements and also the modalities, and basically just how they express energy and their ways of expressing energy, and they all have a certain goal in expressing that energy. So yeah, so that's going to be in the next video. So definitely subscribe, turn on your notifications so you don't miss it, and like, share, comment. I'd love to hear from you, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Bye.